and this is the official recording. We have commenced the first podcast here in Dallas, or Ennis, Texas, New York, and Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
And
New York City, New York.
We're currently trying to come up with the name for this podcast. This is the origin video here.
Yeah, this is where it all began. So we were thinking of calling it Toilet Talk, but then Jay suggested that we call it the Pretending to Know podcast. So I think his version or his title is way better. But hey, this is just guys pretending to know what they're talking about.
There you go.
Hey, Marty, just so you know, his full name is down there in his lower bottom screen.
Oh,
No, I know, but I'm just saying. Before we started,
I need to go create another email. Edit this out.
I'll put a blur. I'll edit it. Put a little blurry spot.
can you?
Yeah.
Just put a whole blur.
Jesus.
But I like that, the pretending to know, because it removes all accountability from for whatever we say, because we're just pretending to know. We're not knowing things.
We don't know. We just talk. We're just shooting the shit. We're talking. Just for shits and giggles. We're having a good time. This is what it's about. This is what we're doing here. And like Marty said earlier, this is for us to get together and bond and just have fun. Really, this is just fun. This is
my dream, and if I have permission to share my dream, is that one day we sit with the ladies from The View and we just talk about hey, we started this thing, whatever many years it took us to get to here. So really we're just like the ladies from The View. That's my dream. But anyway, do y'all want to sort of introduce each other and kind of say what the podcast means to y'all? Just like a little kind of 10-second short introduction, just in case people are watching or hearing us from the internet and beyond.
Yeah, sure. I could start it here quick. My name is Damien. I'm from Houston, Texas, born in Mexico, and moved here recently to Ennis, Texas. And this is just something that, with a couple of friends, we were talking about it for a long time, just for fun, and we're finally doing it. And it's just something that I'm being a part of because it's fun to me. That's more than anything. And I like to talk about different topics and just research live, like on the spot. And yeah, it's just something that I'm doing for fun. Joseph?
Yeah.
Oh, are we going in alphabetical order? Hey,
is that? He's worked
Jay.
out.
J, codename G. I don't know. Damien introduced me to this idea not too long ago. I think maybe the day before yesterday, and I'm just here. I'm enjoying. I'm talking to some good guys. I've known Damien for a long time. I think. Wow, I feel like maybe my intro is going a little too long right now. But I'm happy to be here.
Don't worry. Hey, this is the beauty of editing, my friend. We'll edit whatever we don't want. If you want to retry it, you can retry it right now. Okay. And I'll cut that and put this part in.
You see, that's why it looks so fluid when other people do it, right? Like you said, it's the power of editing, right? You can make everything. Yeah. You can make people say whatever they want to say. Just like an AI now. But anyways, Jay.
JG, everybody.
Been homies with Damien for a long time. I think since I guess we kind of clicked together in high school. By the way, 30 now, so maybe that's too much info. But known Damien for a long time. Talked in high school. Kind of he moved out to Dallas. I was introduced to Maudi. I always mess up your name. I'm sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It's all fine. Mauricio. Mao.
Yeah, I have a cousin named Mauricio, so I should probably know better. But yeah, introduced to Maudi through Damien. Obviously a good friend of their friend group, and I'm happy to be part of his now. But yeah, pleasure to be here.
Marty,
Yeah.
what do you have to say about it?
Well, I mean, I felt a little left out when he said I've been Damien's friend for the longest time, and I was like, no. But no, I think to me, there's something special about friends. There's something weird in the universe where you somehow planets align, things happen, and you sort of come together with people that you kind of like. God, I think I know. I think I've known Joe for a long time. We just haven't met or whatever. But anyway, the podcast to me is a way of capturing some of the deep or not deep conversations that sometimes as friends, you have at 2 a.m. or 1:30 before they close the bar, and you wish that they would keep the bar open. And you wish that they would keep they will let you have more of that conversation in that place. And sometimes you just run out of time. And so I think this is a way of capturing some of that magic, some of those interactions. And yeah, I mean, Damien has been sort of mentioning the idea. And to me, it's been scary because you're kind of like, oh God, maybe what if I mess up? What if I don't really know what I'm saying? What if people don't care or don't listen? But at the end of the day, it's just human beings connecting in whatever possibility we have. And if people listen out there and feel like, they relate to some of our opinions or they disagree, that's all okay, because we want all voices to be heard, to be inclusive. And I'm sure some of that inclusivity talk will come at some point in the podcast. But yeah, that's what it means to me. Just guys talking, pretending that they know something or not
And hopefully,
know,
or
asking
learning on the
questions.
way. Yeah,
Yeah, and learning along.
might not know in the beginning, but in the end, our goal is to know, and
Yeah.
that's what it's also about. But hey, that was well said, Marty. That was beautiful.
Yeah, dude.
Did it make you cry?
Right?
We're
You
gonna
set
keep
the
it
bar up.
PG here.
You guys are. I'm gonna try. Well, I'm not gonna try. I'm just whatever comes out of my mouth comes out of my mouth.
Yeah.
With that,
Well, what
let's jump
yeah.
into a topic. Or did you want to add something else? I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I think that well, I mean, did you guys want to jump straight into the I think, we've been talking about politics for the longest time, but we could start there. We could start somewhere else. But Damien, I think since this is obviously you are the host, you are the
Oh no. There's no. I only had administration powers where I can kick you out of the video at any click of a button. But no, I want it to be all even around the board. All of us are. It's all 50-50. So whatever topic you want to start with. Right, 33. I get a little 33 point whatever extra, but just because I can kick you out of the video, that's it. But no, we can 34. Start right, 34. So let's whatever you guys want to start with. I'm cool with that.
Well, I have one that I think is it's relatable to a lot of people, and recently, one of my uncles is going through health problems, and it is because of cirrhosis, and it's one of those unfortunate. We all have an uncle. We all have somebody that happens to, I don't know, I guess sometimes have an addiction problem. And that's one of the things that, as people, we like to have fun, we like to bond, and sometimes bonding comes easier because of, a little bit of beer, a little bit of alcohol. We all have a little bit of anxiety, and sometimes the alcohol is a way of reducing the anxiety, reducing the stress, making us feel a lot more relaxed. And it just so happens that just some people take it to an addiction extreme.
Yeah.
And so I think we can start with that. I feel like we can talk about obviously the effects of alcohol on the mind, the depressive and
As we
addictive
drink it.
side as we drink it. I mean,
As we
it is very
consume-
ironic.
Yep.
As we consume a little bit of alcohol to take the edge off.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is sad because at the end of it, it's just a heavy burden that is imposed on families as well.
Yeah. I mean,
Go ahead,
I've
Joe.
been I've been thinking about that a lot too because you know, I guess my family they don't have much of an addiction problem like I see other families have. And addiction in itself is kind of like I feel like it's something that maybe some people struggle to understand what it really is because I mean, your brain is a lot of chemistry and stuff like that. And a lot of people they get to the point where in order to really feel normal they have to do this. It's a lot of people think it's like a willpower thing, and it is partly, but at the same time it's kind of like a chemical dependency. You know what I mean? And that's something that's really hard to shake off. And outside of alcohol, you just think about like even harder drugs, like the deal with fentanyl, like in all the cities and all the homeless people. Like a lot of people see those homeless people, and I guess this is kind of like the liberal side of me. Like they see them as like I guess the degenerates of society. But I feel like it takes a while before you get there, and when you're there, it's like you can't look at those people and be like, oh, they can just change. You know what I mean? Like they've really gotten themselves down to the point where like, yeah, this is like a more of a mental health thing, not like just someone that is I don't know. It's just like a different perspective that I've kind of been developing on that and understanding addiction being more of like a mental health thing for sure.
Yeah.
Rather than yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, and it's like everyone has a different path to get there. There's a lot of things that factored in that made them get there in the first place. And usually it has to do, well, one of them is mental illness. Another one is, childhood trauma, victims of, some horrendous things that have occurred in their life. So these are all things that occur to them, and they turn to drugs, weed, alcohol, fentanyl, whatever it is, as a form of self-medication, and it's a coping mechanism that they use.
Yeah.
So that's really how it starts in most of these cases. You see prostitutes that use it also to make their job easier, but so when you look at them on the streets, it's sad to see that. But I know that most of them didn't get there because they wanted to. It's just the environment they were in that kind of forced them to get there.
Yeah,
But,
I guess
but but the thing is upsetting when you see somebody who and you know that you know them all your life, and you see that they don't have a reason. They weren't victims, or at least you don't know. But you don't. You ask yourself, it's frustrating to see to witness somebody who you know and grew up with starting to get into that path. And it's little by little, it becomes, the deeper they get in there, it's irreversible, and it's just upsetting. And that's when you're like, your point of view towards them is a little more hardcore because you know them so well that it's kind of like you're disappointed, you're upset, and in a way you don't want to forgive them for reaching that point. But what do you do at that point once you got the cirrhosis, once you're under a bridge, what do you do as a friend or a family member? What do you do then?
Yeah, I don't know if like. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, good, Joe. Totally. I mean, I feel like we all kind of have a thing to say about it because we all have a family member. We all know somebody. But I mean, one short thing before. I feel like sometimes we give a negative connotation to like the people that have an addiction. Like, I don't know, put a name to it. Like you mentioned a profession, like ladies of the night. But it just so happens that it's not just ladies of the night. I mean, it could be lawyers that could have cirrhosis, doctors that have cirrhosis because they're using it to cope. And Joe said it, you never know what somebody went through, what some of the past life events happened, what they're using the alcohol for. But before I keep going, Joe, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it's. I guess it was going to be a bit more specific about, I guess, the situation with respect to alcohol, just because, like, I feel like that's the one that I feel like a lot of folks struggle the most because there's a lot of social pressure for it. I mean, I know of situations of like people that actually are trying to kick a habit, but they feel that if they go to like a family gathering or something like that, they feel awkward turning down a beer. They feel like, oh, they're being a square, they're going to get something like that. But no, this is someone who has a problem, and you're just giving them the giving them the poison more and more, because there's some people that just like they just have it's they don't treat this stuff casual, and it's kind of like, and it's kind of hard to see it, you know what I mean? But it's like the people closest to them that end up like in the end, like really seeing it, and then getting upset about it and whatnot. I just wanted to add that. I just feel like with alcohol in particular, it's really hard because, like, especially in our culture, us being like Latinos, it's always
everywhere.
part of it. It's always part of it. And if you try to kick it, you're being a square. If you opt for a water, it's like, why? Like, come on, just do it. You know what I mean? But that, come on, let's do it. Like, maybe that party it's okay, maybe the next one, but eventually, you start spiraling, and then you get to a situation in which you end up fucking up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you get back to the original.
And with most people, like, it's for the average Joe, it's like, it's okay. It's everyone, most adults, most of us, or at least my friends and y'all, like, we got it under control. It's not like we're consuming all the time or every day, every morning. Whenever we have a social gathering, or we're he's having a little sip of wine, and we're not getting out of control. We're not going too far. And so, yes, socially, it's, if that someone's struggling with alcohol, that's when it's kind of wrong. It's like you should not encourage it, and you should kind of watch them and say, hey, put it down, or how about a water now, or try to like mitigate, try to control and prevent them from going too far that night. But since I know you guys, joking like that is safe. And that's the thing, is you got to know when it's safe to play with somebody like that, and to apply that social pressure of like, come on, have a drink with me. Because you can usually you can read the room and know when somebody really doesn't want to, and you're like, oh no, I'm just playing, bro. You don't have to do it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like, do what you want. He's having a good time. But you usually know your friend, or at least I do. I usually know who I can kind of apply that little pressure jokingly, and usually get them to join. And but they really don't want to. It's not a deal at all. And it shouldn't be an issue. That pressure should only be a friendly pressure. It should never be like actually trying to force somebody to consume something they don't want. That's what the problem is.
I think the problem, and this is something that I just, I'm going back to because of the situation that, my family's going through. And it's the, when do I tell them that maybe they're over drinking? And maybe we're talking too much. We're taking a little bit of time, or too long a time, talking about addiction, when I know that maybe we're not experts on addiction or depression, but maybe we're just talking about like our perspective of it. And one of the things that I struggled with was like, hey, I saw my uncle at family parties, and I saw him at Christmas, or whenever, and maybe he was having a little bit, too much of a drink, and I thought of saying, hey, maybe it's time that you don't drink that much, but I didn't say it, and I think it's sort of, there's obviously people that struggle with addiction a lot harder than others, and it's that time, it's to those people, and during those times, that you should lean on them a lot harder, and just kind of tell them, hey, I think you're over drinking, and maybe it could be a wrong conversation to have. Obviously, I'm not I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychologist, but I know that I never said it, and I wish I'd have said it, and I wish that maybe he had gotten mad at me and he would have said something or whatever. But I just wanted to instill that thought then, and now it's too late, and maybe his obviously liver cirrhosis is a very kind of serious medical condition, and where it maybe if we were in the 80s or the 70s, that would be like a terminal condition. And so right now we're doing a lot of praying and a lot of hoping that things are going to be okay. But it's just to go back to Damien's point of like, hey, we can joke around with certain friends and we can sort of socially pressure them because we know that maybe it's safe. But the other side of the coin is, when do we let our friends know or our family members know that maybe it's time to not drink as hard, and how that conversation might go, whether it's like awful, awkward. Yeah,
I feel like most of the time it can be a little awkward. Recently, I've been a bit more confrontational about it, just because I have two friends that are having an issue. One of them is, and that's the thing. Like, it kind of sucks because like you try to like tell them like, hey, like you try to tell them to stop, but they just end up lying behind. It's the addiction, you know what I mean? It's just like they just really driven to it. They'll kind of push you aside and then start hanging out with the people that kind of enable the behavior. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, what were you gonna say, Damon? My bad.
No, go ahead. No, you're still going.
No, I'm good. I'm done.
Okay. No, I was gonna add like, and that's the tricky part is the approach, the intervention. The intervention, that's the tricky part, because you want to do it in a way that's gonna push them away, because if it's a friend or family or somebody you care about, it's so hard to try to like, how do I tell them without offending, without damaging the relationship, because you don't want to lose that trust from them. Because if it doesn't go right and you lose their trust, then who else is going to be there to tell them? And so you have to somehow surgically let them know, hey, like, let them know that's not what their path they're on is not the right path, and they need to reverse course immediately. But it's just like I said, that interaction, that's the tricky part. How do you do it the right way?
I always kind of feel bad because like a part of me kind of like gets a little angry about it, and I'm like, well, you know what? Just let them do it, and they'll learn the lesson whenever they fuck up. But what you don't realize is that like, people can fuck up multiple times, and whenever you're drunk, dude, you really don't think about consequences. So, like they can really fuck up big time, and we I guess we know of situations. I mean, you hear about them on the news, like some folks. I don't know what it is, but a lot of drunk people, they just like to drive, and that's and that's just like I don't get it. It's just, but that's the thing, when you're drunk like that, you just that logical side of what is right and wrong, it's gone. So you get behind the wheel, and then sometimes you end up killing people. So
and there's no going back from that mistake.
Yeah, after that, you're done. So the strategy, it's a tricky one. But I guess you just have to treat like the addiction, like the folks that have it, like a real like mental condition, and they have to go get some help from professionals, right?
Well, I mean, and a lot of it is, alcoholism is obviously an addiction, and certain people tend to be more prone to addiction. I mean, it could be like a genetic thing. There's certainly people that maybe have a little bit of an aggressive gene, or maybe they tend to be predisposed. I mean, though we might not want to say it, I mean, that's one of the things that could be coded into people's whatever DNA. This like inclination to like feel depressed or feel that they could be too addicted to something. And this is why I feel like it's important to also not judge those people, because though they might cause family harm or cause friends harm, it might not be them. It might just be the addiction, and it might just be the depression taken over. And so I think it's yeah, I mean, this is why AA, for the people that go there and for the people that it has worked with successfully, is such a great tool for people that struggle with addiction, whether it's alcoholism or drugs or whatever, because they can relate to those people a lot more. So I think that, to me, the answer is find people that you trust, find people that have the same sort of condition, and catch it early.
Yeah.
If not early, then always talk to your family, talk to your friends. And if you have friends that care about you, if you have family that cares about you, they will always kind of let you know. And so this is something that I struggle with. Like, I did love my uncle. I still love him, and it's just it's a heavy burden. I don't want to put the blame on myself, because at the end of the day, people are free to make their own decisions.
Mhm.
But there should always be someone having your back. It's always important to have a close group of people that care about you and that are honest with you all the time. So, I mean, what else can we say about it other than?
Yeah. Well, referring to the support system. That's what most addicts that kick it, and they're able to overcome that. It's because they have a good support system. They have a whole community, family. They have rehab. They have financial access to have rehab. So these are the people usually are able to kick it because they have that
Yeah.
support system. But somebody who doesn't have that, I mean, that's where it's a hell of a hardship. And you see a lot of those teenagers and addicts in Seattle and Portland, and you see them on the streets. Where's their family? They're living, they're runaways. They've been homeless for years. They have nothing. So there's no getting out of that. And when your reality is an ugly truth, what's the alternative? It's altering your state of mind and escaping reality. So this drug usage it's just a way to get away from all that too. So it's for them it's a journey that's going to eventually lead to their demise, or will take some divine intervention to really get them out of there.
Yeah. And I guess to kind of, I don't know if this is going to kind of pivot a little bit, but it's been something that I've been trying to understand a little bit more, because obviously, like in this country, the United States, cities are taking a different approach to handling folks with addiction. You mentioned Seattle, Portland. You mentioned, you can add California there. And, in my mind, it's kind of hard to you see what they're doing, and you're wondering, like, why are they doing that? Everyone else, I live in Texas, Marty, you live in New York, so maybe things are a little different there. Both Damien and I both live in Texas. But we look at these other countries, and obviously people are always talking shit, and they're just like, look, they're decriminalizing drugs, and look what's going on with their cities. But you brought up a good point, Marty. It's kind of like, folks with addictions, like, there I feel like there is something right about decriminalizing drugs, because putting those people in jail and knowing how stressful jail is just to begin with, it just seems like it's the wrong place to put someone with issues like that. You know what I mean? And it doesn't seem like it's going to be a place that's going to help heal that. But at the same time, it doesn't seem like there's any facilities out there that are equipped to do that either. So I guess for the time being, you just leave them in the streets, and then you just kind of box them in. Like, I know in LA they're doing Skid Row. They just make sure to keep all the folks, and most of the people there, I mean, most of the homeless folks, they have an addiction to something. You know what I mean? That's how they kind of end up there. But yeah, it's just, I've been kind of curious about that, and been trying to understand that more, because obviously there's some folks in different states that are, trying to handle it differently. I guess here in Houston, we don't see that problem as much. I don't know. There's other elements to play too. Those are expensive cities, so people obviously end up in the streets more whenever they have a problem, because they can't really afford to go anywhere else. So, but I don't know. I've been trying to understand what's going on there, and why they think that is the path forward, because they're trying it out, obviously, but it's so far it's been it's been pretty bad results. I guess the public point of view is kind of, it's a lot of bad results, but I don't know. What do you guys?
Yeah,
allow me to be the loose cannon here, and you say, "What's up with the fucking Ukraine getting all these billions of dollars?" And
Come
you're making
on.
it
No.
you're making a great point. You know, we're sending money to other countries when we have issues here, uh, and the immigrant status in Chicago and wherever else, with New York, we're putting them in hotels. All that money spent on them, but not on the homeless people, not on the people in our backyard that need the problem. We're trying to solve the world problems. How about people like that? The idea of like instead of jailing them, yeah, you're right. That's not going to solve the issue. That's going to even that in some places that's just going to exacerbate the situation. So what's the right approach? I think it's less jails for drug users and more rehab centers. And where can the money come from? I don't know. From instead of going to fucking Ukraine or some of these places that it's not helping our citizens or our people. And yeah, there are refugees. There are people that come in this country that need help. Yeah, let's have some money, there for them. But why not have set up a facility for rehab? And we have rehab, but it's expensive. Just look up the prices on how and a one little week rehab is not going to do shit. Usually, if you look at celebrities, Lindsay Lohan, Britney Spears, whoever has had rehab, they're there for like months, and that is not cheap. That's a 6 months rehabilitation center will probably cost you 60,000 grand. Who's walking around with 60 grand in their wallet right now when like 70 or 60% of people are using their credit card to pay off payments? Who has that?
Yeah. Well, I do think that we are sort of conflating, the whole homeless thing with the whole Ukraine immigration thing. I mean, that's a whole separate conversation there. But I just
Yeah.
want to touch on the socioeconomic, maybe
No,
demographic.
you're saying we're complaining, but I don't see it as complaining because yeah, there are two different problems, but we're referring to the where's the money going to come from and where is the money going? That's just one
Yeah.
thing where the money is going in a place where most Americans I couldn't say that. I don't know the stats on that, so I'm going to retract that. But there's a huge number of people who don't agree with some of the money that's being spent, our
No.
taxpayer money,
Yeah.
and that's definitely a rehab center for people who need it. Instead of jailing them, send their asses there. That's the place where they need to go. That's what's going to fix them and help.
Yeah. Well, I do think that I mean, that's the reason that government exists, that government is both responsible for the issues at home, but also in the case of the United States being a superpower, kind of this, beacon on a hill kind of country that is able to sort of, I guess, meddle into other people's territories. But before we pivot too hard on those kind of issues, which I think deserve their own kind of podcast time, I do want to touch on go back to the socioeconomic demographic inequity that exists in cities. I mean, suburban cities. I mean, obviously Houston is one of them. And in Houston's case, a lot of cities are looking at how Houston is handling the homeless
Epidemic, I guess.
epidemic or social issue. Because Houston, what they've done is they have taken the homeless out of the street and they have given them, I think, about 6 months of assured living. So, they'll take someone off the street, they'll give them an apartment, and they'll say like, hey, maybe you are going through a tough time, or maybe you've migrated from another state into our state, and we're going to give you 6 months to kind of get your act together and find a job. And a lot of those people, though you might not believe it, end up finding a job and end up kind of getting their act around, and they'll stop being homeless. And so, cities are looking at that. But then in the case of New York, where, already the cost of living and living spaces themselves are so scarce that you can't just put people in, I don't know, give them an apartment for 6 months. So that's another issue that I think. And to go back to, okay, well, where is the money going to? That's a great question, and I think we need to. I think the homeless epidemic has always been an issue that politicians always campaign on, and they never fulfill that promise because it's hard. But I do want to say that Houston is doing it right. I feel like they're giving people the opportunity to redeem themselves and to get back on the horse and to find a job. And I think that's the way you do it. I think more cities should be looking at that model.
Marty, that model is beautiful for the people that it works for. So when you have like 50% of the homeless people with mental illness, it doesn't matter what you do. Unfortunately, their mental illness will eventually lead them back to the streets. But there are people who have had hardship and they've lost everything. Once you lose everything, it's hard to get something and find a job. No place, no shower. No shower, no employment. No employment, streets. That's what all it is. It's a vicious cycle, and you can't get out of it. And you don't have an address, you can't apply to some things. You can't get a credit card. You can't get anything without a home address. So it's hard for them. So yeah, that model is perfect. Is definitely great for them, and hopefully it's helping them out and doing great things. But that's just. But if I were to guess, I'm gonna say that's maybe like 20% of the homeless where it works. Do you have the numbers by any chance, or is there a way? I guess the model is too early on to even have an accurate number.
I mean, this is one of the things that we could put in the chat. And Joe, while I kind of Google this, maybe you would like to add a little more.
You can screen share, and whenever you present it, that way it shows up, and when you talk, the camera will capture your camera. So that way we can see the stats and what you're showing us on your screen.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is this. Okay, so the thing is, I feel like maybe it's best because I read this article, probably must have been about a year ago, and it was from the Times. It was the New York Times, and they were talking about obviously the homelessness epidemic. Is that the right word? Yeah, epidemic. Going on in this country and how we cannot fix it, and maybe how other countries have fixed it, and maybe cities in this country. And Houston popped up a lot because people were looking at how they were handling it. In fact, I have the article, but I feel like maybe we could share it on if we get to live stream it or maybe post it on a platform, and we could have people read it and have them make their own opinion on that. But I have the article. It's from the Times, New York Times, and I can probably share it on the chat. But we should probably share it on the link on the YouTube, on the video description, and then have people read it.
Is there a way for you to? I like that. You got it there.
Yeah.
Is there a way for you to find the data on how many people that's actually helped? What's the percentage, the success rate on that model?
Yeah.
That's something I like to see.
Yes. So so I mean, I can share my screen if you guys want.
Yeah, we can try this out, but it'll be our first time, trying to do some live research. You know what I mean? Let's figure that out. How the process of getting that.
Cool. Sounds good. I'm not a tech savvy person, but I'll definitely just go for it. Entire screen. Actually, I'm just put the window or Chrome tab. And then I might just go to the article straight up. Okay, so can you guys see the article?
Yeah, there it is.
Yep.
Yeah, so this is from Smart Cities Dive. The original article I read this from was from the New York Times, but this seems to have the same information, how Houston's homeless strategy became a model for other U.S. cities.
63%.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I must admit, like, being a native Houstonian, like, I know where like some of the hot spots are, and I have
Mhm.
noticed that, they've kind of thinned out. So that's why whenever I was thinking about it and thinking about, because you see the documentaries on LA and Skid Row and Seattle and San Francisco, and man, it's so bad. But you don't see anything about Houston, and we're a big city too. You know what I mean? I guess
Yeah.
the main difference is that we're, I guess, a red state, although it's a blue city.
Yes.
But I
Uh,
was I was kind of reflecting on that. I'm like, there must be something that we're doing that's a little different because the issue is not as bad, it seems. At the same time, you can in your mind you can automatically just go to, you can correlate it with home prices. I mean, come on, to live in San Francisco, to live in LA, like you have to spend, I don't know, 500 plus thousand. You in Houston, I mean, homes getting expensive everywhere, but um it's a bit more, I guess, relatively speaking, reasonably priced for someone. So there's
Eh,
a lot of other factors that contribute to that situation, and I guess there's reasons that those cities. I guess it would be kind of something interesting to kind of look into more into, like, the
yeah.
study of like what people think, because there's a lot of different avenues to get to where they're at, and there's different circumstances between, or a different set of conditions within each city. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, I didn't know
Yeah.
about this. This is cool.
Yeah, so just to kind of read it a little bit, is Houston worked with surrounding county governments. So I don't know, I'm from Houston as well. I moved to New York City a little bit ago, but I guess county governments like Harris, like Pearland, like Katy or whatever. And it says various community stakeholders and nonprofit service providers develop a model with a small budget that decreased the area's homelessness by roughly 63% since 2011. And it's probably good for the viewers to know that Houston became a hub for migrants or people from around the vicinity of Texas, like Louisiana,
Yeah.
after Katrina. So a lot of people were displaced because of a natural disaster, and they arrived to our city, but they had nothing. So they basically, for a while, there was a lot of homeless people in the streets, and they decreased that homeless population by 63%. The area experienced an 82% reduction in family homelessness and a 69% reduction in chronic homelessness. So, I mean, that's a pretty high, when we're talking about 69% reduction in
That's very
chronic,
good.
that's very good. So I think, and I read this a while ago. I think I don't want to. Maybe I can go back to, or can go down to the article's like date somewhere here. Wish they would put a date. Yeah, this is August 22, 2000, August 25, 25th,
It, it,
2022.
is there anything recent that talks on this?
Yeah, well,
Because
this,
post COVID. Well, I mean, this is post COVID, right? This is 2022, or is it 2020 when it was published?
well, this one right here says this is the Houston region saw the largest homeless population decrease among 11 large U.S. metro areas.
It looks like it's
Uh,
2011 to 2020, at least the data they have there.
yeah, prior
But
to the
is this
pandemic.
article a 2022 article, or is this a 2020 article?
It's a 2022 article. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Yeah,
oh, wait, hold on.
that's pretty recent. Oh
So
wait,
that's
go to the
different
very.
reading.
It's in the very top.
It's
Go on
at
the very top.
it's at the very top, isn't it?
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
still,
It's
November.
published. Okay, that's recent. This is good. This is really, so this is pretty accurate information. This is pretty it's not outdated. Now it says down there, or a little bit higher up, it says something about 90% are able to stay at home for 2 or more years. Or what is this? Remain home house for 2 or more years. So that's pretty good. And 26,000 people have been helped so far. That's amazing.
yeah, I guess it's kind of like, what I'm thinking is that maybe it just really depends. Like, I don't know. I'm kind of thinking about what Damien said about, the system works, but for like a certain type of individual. And I guess the demographics of what type of homelessness we experience, whether in Houston and LA, are probably different. Like maybe in Houston, like, for example, you were talking about people from Katrina. Like we were thinking about like people that, I mean, in LA, people do the same thing. the immigrants that cross from Mexico. And like, if you're able to kind of give them a shot, like folks that don't have a mental illness or substance abuse problems or addiction, then they can make it out of that. But I think we were kind of brainstorming about like the situation in which that is not the case, because obviously in some cities, like, what works here is probably not going to work there because of just like the demographics of the homelessness that is made up of it.
And to be the devil's advocate, because I want to go and always approach things from a different angle. You guys know me. Like the numbers on the research, it's very. These numbers they look too great. I mean, they look great. Those numbers are beautiful. But there's always a catch when it comes to like how the numbers are gathered, and also this government funded program. And like you said earlier, Marty, these programs that usually are meant to feed the poor or help the poor, or there's been so many cases where there's scams involved. People, they're supposedly the leaders and trying to run these programs and end up pocketing some of the money, and that the way the system doesn't work like is intended to, and all that. So I'm just trying to see how they got these numbers, and also why is it that the numbers skyrocket to such big numbers like that? Is it because other people got wind of it, and now you have people coming here because of that? Because that if I hear that as a homeless person, if I catch wind of that information, I'm like, oh shit, Houston's the hub. They house you over there. Let's go there, and they keep housing people. Then of course the homelessness rate is going to drop, right? They have 26,000. So is it that they're only housing, or is there more to it than just housing individuals on the street? Because that to me, it sounds like a giveaway. That's
do you want me to go back to the article?
Yeah,
I could read it. I mean,
I would say go back, but at the same time, like, it's kind of what Damien says. I mean, this is just some random article. Like, who knows about the numbers? It's not like a scientific paper. Is someone back checking this? Where's their data? You know what I mean? It's kind of like, I mean, I'm sure like there's some truth to it. Maybe like you can say it trended in the right direction. Maybe you don't have to believe the numbers, but you can say maybe the trend is like correct. I don't know if it's how significant it is.
Yeah,
but I'm not to come at this from ill will or anything, but it's just me being skeptical and questioning everything like I always do, and use one from when you're presented with any information, any article, I never take shit at face value. I always like, okay, why is it like that? Why is it working so well? It's like I want answers, and not because I think that everyone's coming from a bad point of view. It's I'm just curious. I just want to know. And if I find out like, oh, that's why the numbers are so great, then it's like, okay, now I know. At least at least I asked that question, and I try to look into it and find out. But I'm hoping this is really helping people. The numbers are true, and that it's reducing homelessness the way it's said on paper.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
One thing to be said is, at some point we kind of have to trust the numbers, the data. And if we don't trust the numbers of the data, then obviously this is, we kind of have to look at where it came from, what the source was. But I originally got it from the New York Times, and this is probably a rewrite of the New York Times kind of article. I deem that the New York Times is a reliable source, but you're right. I mean, it really comes down to what the county officials, the politicians how they are reading this, but I do think that if Houston is being looked at as a hub of not a hub, but definitely a focal point for other cities to manage their homelessness situation, I mean, I honestly think that it's a great idea to give people a second chance, to give people the opportunity to kind of get their legs going and find a job and just get a safe place where they can take a shower, where they can arrive and relax and just kind of wind down. And that's really what we all want, what we all need as humans. So I think it's a great model. I think maybe the numbers are a little bit exaggerated, But if they're not, then we kind of have to believe that this is the way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we also kind of have to mention that Houston is also a place that has very much wide space. In fact, all of Texas has a potential of building, apartment buildings with like 1,000 units. And that's not the case for suburban cities like, New York City, Chicago, LA, where a lot of that space has been taken. Yeah. So, I mean, you're right, Joe. I mean, it really comes down to Texas is not LA and it's not New York. So, I mean, we kind of have to take the model as it is, but also take the circumstance and the context of the situation. But if it works, it works. We can't doubt it too much.
I mean, without even looking at without even looking at the numbers, I mean, we can become investigative journalists ourselves. I live here in Houston. Just take a drive down the city, see with your own eyes, and compare it to maybe because people do these recordings, and these these encampments in these other cities, they've gathered a lot of attention. They've almost become kind of like a tourism in a way. People are actually literally curious about these neighborhoods of just tent cities. You know what I mean? It is something that is that has a lot of I guess is notorious, but it has that appeal to it. People are curious about it. You know what I mean? So, I mean, obviously, if I'm driving down like the main areas where I would expect it, and I don't see a lot of people, then Houston is doing something a little different. Unless they're like Austin, where Austin had like a big problem at some point, and then all of a sudden it didn't. And I don't know where those people went. People say they sent them to the woods and they just had their own city somewhere else. But I don't know about that one.
Hey, so my question earlier about how the program, there is an article from The Hill. Unfortunately, it has to be from The Hill. You can say they're a little biased sometimes, but it does address what I was talking about. And let me just read this, put it up real quick, because this is very interesting. How do I screen present now?
I mean, it is The Hill, but okay, fine.
Chrome tab, window, Chrome tab. Okay, good. Select that. Share. Do you guys see this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So this is exactly what I was talking about. So
hey, can you exit that little video so it doesn't?
This one right here?
Yeah.
Do you hear it?
No. It's fine. We don't need to hear it.
Okay.
So
well,
this
come
was,
on. I mean, yeah. All right.
So
let's go into it.
2022. Half of the.
It's a little. Yeah.
So kind of like you skim through it real quick, and I'm gonna ignore this. This is just going over the policy.
But it showed that by 62%, it had success in quotes.
Yes, and we're gonna get to that. So the policy is called Housing First. So that this is the thing, right? We're about to get to the nitty gritty of this. The theory is that they're gonna try to get housing first, and that's pretty much the main focus, rather than addressing the addiction. So that's pretty much the summary of all this. But
and we already kind of talked about that. That might not work for every situation.
Exactly. Right? And where was it? Okay, this part right here. So the human wreckage wrought by Housing First was revealed last year in Boston, where a 14-year study followed 73 chronically unsheltered people who were provided with permanent supportive housing. Researchers found that the focus on housing rather than treatment and recovery saw impressive early results, but by year 5, only 36% remained sheltered, while at the study's end, almost half of the cohort died due to a tremorbidity. Wow. Combination of medical, psychiatric, and substance disorder.
Yeah.
So this is not fixing because like I said, most of the people who are on the streets are addicts and mentally ill. So all you're doing is housing the addicts, and you're not treating them. And this is just taking them off the streets at a high cost to the taxpayer, because how can this be sustainable? This is housing. This is very expensive. And so
I mean, if you I mean, it kind of I can follow the logic, and it's kind of like what Marty said. Like obviously, like for local officials, homelessness is like a hot political topic. So if they can spin the kind of not fabricate, but if they can make the numbers look really good in their favor, then they're going to
Yeah.
continue this project, right? And they're gonna but that's the thing. It's kind of like if you're like a politician, a local official that actually cares about improving things and not just trying to get reelected and try to eh, you know like if this is an obvious flaw in that system, then damn, don't continue putting people through it that are not going to have good success rates. We know it works for the
Yeah.
folks that actually don't have that, but that is a thought that I had. Like what is the demographic of homelessness in Houston specifically? Is it kind of like LA where obviously there's like a lot of drug issues? Or is it just kind of, I don't know, because yeah, it's just kind of case by case, and I don't really know I don't understand the full context here on the Houston situation. But yeah,
But
see, that was a
yeah.
good article. It
That
gave a
it
different
was an
perspective.
interesting view, and yeah, and it was saying something about 70-something% of the people on the streets are users, they're addicts. So if you're housing first and not treating, like I said, after 5 years, 36% are back on the streets, or they've died from trimorbidity. And that's the first time I heard that. It's always comorbidity. It's like dying from
Right,
like everything.
three.
So that's
But
a new word. Yes, but yeah,
that
that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, okay, that sounds really good, and cherry on top. But
yeah,
with all these government programs that always are it's supposed to help the homeless, it's always another reason. It's like the helping part is always the little poster in the front. It's the fiasco. They're trying to make it seem like, oh, we're doing it for this, but who knows what's really going on? Because the homeless epidemic has been going on for years. It's something it's just part of human nature. It's just part of us as the human species. There's
yeah,
people who are billionaires get to the top, and there are going to be people on the other spectrum that get to the very bottom. That's just part of
but
how it is, and
yeah,
unfortunately, we can't all make it go away because we can't be there for everyone. The moment they're grown, they're born. We can't be there every day. Hey, do this, do that. Don't go and do that. This is the right way
yeah,
to do it. So we can't micromanage people like that. So it's
yeah.
impossible. There is no fix to it. It's gonna these unfortunate events are gonna blossom no matter what. Now the
Damon,
program sounds great, but
Yeah.
okay, go ahead. Tell me.
Damien, I just want to say, dude, I was literally, those are exactly my thoughts. I was wondering, with respect to the addiction situation, is there just no fix to that? Are you just destined to just be,
There
that would be your
is
existence?
there
Is
is
there
no
no
No.
fix?
fix. There is no fix. There's no fix to it popping up, but there are ways to help it, right? With treatment, rehabilitation centers.
That's the
But
thing though, with the rehabilitation, let's just say, recently I've become aware of a certain situation, and those rehabilitation centers that we think of that are funded by the cities, they're like the one that Lindsay Lohan goes to is not the same one
oh
that the
hell
folks
no,
that the
hell
folks
no,
that don't pay the top dollar go to, and those
hell yep,
folks,
it's
and
shit.
it is almost like jail too. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
those shelters I've heard are worse than jail. There's
So
cockroaches, there's disgusting shit you have to clean, and there's a lot of nastiness that you don't see that it's terrible. But
so
now going to what I was the angle I was trying to go to was that so these programs always start off like trying to push these good numbers and that we're helping, but you don't know behind closed doors because there's this to get these programs started. There's money involved. All right. And who is really winning here? Is it the homeless, the 36 minus percent people are being helped, which is a good number. I'm glad to see that it is helping some. At least it's doing something.
yeah,
But what's the bigger gain here? Is it the little 36%? Or is it the people who are getting these contracts to make the housing to get to or getting employed to help out? Like what's the real
Okay.
thing that's
Yeah.
going
Well,
to getting
let
these
me.
wheels turned? That's what I'm interested in, and I don't think we're ever going to find out. But it is. I just want you to know that's where my mind goes, and I'm just like, what's really getting this train and these wheels turning?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I
Well,
want to say that's a sentiment. Oh, I'm sorry, I've been talking too much. Marty, go. Sorry.
no, I mean, I feel like let me just add that. God, I lost my train of thought. But
Sorry.
Joe, you go first. You go first, and then I'll just get back on my
Babe,
thought.
hey, yes,
But
yes, a quick pause from all this. I've been wanting to point out, but every time he does it, you're talking or I'm talking or he's talking. But when you've been taking a sip of this big ass bottle, Joe. What is this that you're sipping on? It's like not even like a
Bro.
glass or anything. It's straight out the. What the hell? I knew it. I was like, well, you know what? Rancho La Gloria margarita. At least you're drinking something that we distribute, so I have to pay my respects for that. But now I've had the strawberry one. It wasn't my favorite. How is that the regular margarita? Is that pretty good?
Yeah, this one I like this one. I feel like
Why
I've
don't
had
you-
it at camp. I've had it
why
at
don't you-
camp with the. What were you gonna say? I'm sorry. I'm just.
why don't you? No, you're good. Why don't you put ice in it?
Bro, I kind of want to, but I'm being very lazy.
A glass? Go get a glass, put some ice in it, and so you enjoy it. But I see you picking that big thing. That's a struggle already. That thing's a little heavy. It's a big size. That's the 1.75 liter, or what size is that? Or is that 1.5? It's a 1.5.
There you go.
Okay,
Bro, you know your
remember
alcohol.
Yeah.
I remember what my point was. So I do think that homelessness is the symptom, and a lot of times with medicine, we treat the symptom and we treat the illness, but we never prevent it. And so I think that homelessness is a symptom, but the illness is mental health. And how do we prevent mental health? I think obviously that's a deeper question, but a lot of the people, I think somewhere in the article in the Hill and possibly other articles, they'll mention that people that end up in the streets have some sort of obviously depression, addiction, mental illness. And so, we were touching on the fact that, people of color, people that are poor, do not have access to mental health facilities. And so I think that possibly the answer is, okay, putting a lot more emphasis on like people's mental health, irrespective of politics, demographics, skin color, whatever. And I think that, to me, that is the answer, to prioritize mental health. And a lot of the people that went back to the streets, I think we were reading on the article that maybe, I think it was 36% of people that it worked for the temporary housing, and then the other, remind me what the math is, 64%. Yeah, 64% of people that it didn't work for were people that still had chronic mental illness.
Yeah.
So for those 64% of people that it didn't work for, the mental aspect of it wasn't dealt. It was just a symptom that was treated. So I think to me, the solution is prioritize targeting mental health and giving people resources to get, decent care. Is another thing that maybe we can talk about in a different episode of this podcast. It's I hate to say it, but the shootings that happen in our country, that's embarrassing. But it's also people that struggle with mental illness.
Yeah.
But anyway, before I pivot to that side, to make this into a controversial conversation, just want to let y'all kind of add to it, disagree with it.
What you're saying is, you're saying Houston is saying housing first. That's what their priority is. You're saying mental illness or addiction treatment first. I'm saying a little bit of both is needed, because you can't treat somebody who's homeless, because it's just they're going to be back on the streets the next day. or you know,
Yeah.
and then they're gonna go back to that life and that cycle, and they're gonna get caught in it. You got to really fix somebody. Unfortunately, the real solution, you want to know individually, the real solution is having that support system, having that expensive center like where that celebrities can afford and rich people can afford. That's what's really going to help somebody. That well, at least has the higher percentage of helping. For the rest, for the vast majority, people that need the support from the government and intervention from and assistance, there is financially that doesn't exist because it's just the budget will be way too high, and so we have to resort to these cheap alternatives on a mass scale, and that's the sad part because as a society we can't fund that. So yeah, I think it's a little bit of both, and housing and treatment. Like yeah, housing is necessary. So that approach of housing first, I think the housing should come first, or at least if you're not if you're gonna take them out and put in rehab, that can come first. But it definitely has to be getting them off the streets first. That's got to be the first thing,
Yeah.
and then treating the problem but oh man, it's just so it seems like it's such a great program, but yeah, now that I think about it, it's like how sustainable can it be? And then if other people and like in different states here, as this news is pushed more into the audience and it becomes ubiquitous, and other people catch wind of this, this is enticing information for people who are homeless because it's like, oh shit, they're housing you in Houston. Now I want so there's so many things that it's just so much to think
I,
about with this. It's so complicated. It's uh, but yes,
yeah.
yes.
I want to say that I definitely agree with you both. I guess what Marty I guess the point that maybe that you're so that both of you guys are kind of making is that the situation of the folks on the street now, it's gonna be it's hard. It's difficult to fix, maybe impossible in some cases. You're just gonna have to deal with that and just kind of see how it goes. But Marty was saying if you do some prevention beforehand, like maybe you can over time decrease, and then eventually maybe the problem is going to be very minimal. But over time, if you focus on the front end stuff before you're in the streets, before you have the addiction problem and all that.
Right, right. But the question was, well, the unanswered question was, what is the prevention? Well, how do you prevent it? Because, like I said earlier, I think that it's just part of the human. It's just the way the human civilization is there's the ones in the top and the ones in the very bottom, and then what you're trying to fix a group here, and another group pops up later out here.
Yeah, I mean,
because there's no controlling or overseeing and such a microscopic level. There's just no being able to do that. But if a bad hatches here, now you got to go and deal with that weed, and then deal with this weed here, and it's a lot.
Eliminating it probably, like you say, it's just like there's gonna in some aspects it's just gonna exist in our society just because of just maybe a numbers game. There's a lot of people in this world, so a certain fraction of them are gonna they're gonna fall through the cracks. But
and multiple paths to get there too.
Yeah, but what was that? Man, I forgot what I was gonna say. But but right now it's kind of like it's reducing that fraction. It's like a really big one. So maybe we can't eliminate it entirely, but hopefully, there's a strategy to kind of keep the number, something reasonable. I don't know.
Joseph, let me now that you just brought another idea or another angle in my head. So
yeah.
You're saying that it's reducing, right? What did we just read on the other article? That a lot of them either they go back on the streets or if not, they die, right? Because you're just kind of like enabling their substance abuse. What if that's also that?
I don't know.
What if that's also adding to the numbers dropping? Like, yeah, you're housing them. So if you house them, the numbers go down. If they die, the homeless number goes down too. So it's kind of like you're just you're sending them to the slaughterhouse in a way, and that's why the numbers look so great. But I just
You
wanted to
will.
point. I just wanted to put that out there so you know, like
I
that's might
I get
be pushing the numbers high a little bit. It's gotta be. It's gotta be because it is.
I guess I'm trying to come at it rather than like I know you need to like in the end to evaluate whether a program has some success or not. You have to run the numbers, but I guess I'm just kind of speaking just like in a like a very high level, without looking at without considering like numbers, just like just concepts in general, without. But at the same time, maybe that's like a non-answer because like you're right. Like I have no idea we're talking about prevention and stuff like that, but I have no idea what form that takes. Like
Yeah,
to appeal to
exactly.
people, I have no
The
idea.
Yeah, the prevention part is I think the reason why we have issues because we don't have a prevention method yet, and we try our best with everything else, like having parents try to do their best to raise their kids, keep an eye on them. That information is always being passed around left and right, locally on the news. Everyone talks to word of mouth, all that. We all know, as living in this day and age, we all know it's like unspoken truth that you have to raise kids in a certain way so they can grow up to be healthy, successful, blah blah blah. So we're all doing our part, but when somebody turns into that direction and they fall through your cracks, it's just there's no stopping. It's just all you can do is just like when a weed grows here, you can just treat it then. That's all. There's no real post-emergent or like pre-emergent. There's no way of stopping it before
Yeah.
the problem. It's just once the weed is grown there, that's when you got to go and address it. That's the only way it is, and that's what I'm saying. Like it's kind of like an uphill battle because there's no stopping it. It's just you're
Well,
fixing.
actually,
You're trying to help some people here, and then another group pops up over there. Like
yeah.
housing, the issue in Houston might be a little better, but now you have this L.A., California, Portland, which was skyrocketing with fucking homelessness and addiction.
You want to know something though? Like maybe the issue is that we're probably leaving it up to the government to solve this problem, when in reality it's me, it's you, it's Marty, that like you were saying, like we're the ones that can affect the people around us that we see are having
Yeah,
like this type of problem to begin with.
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
And
The community.
it's about a community. Yeah, it's about a community. And this is going to go a little bit off topic, but the one thing that's for whatever reason, the more the internet, the advent of the internet, we thought was going to unite us, have information global, and connect us like never before. But unfortunately, it has united us information wise and being able to get information like on the click of a button. But it has had an opposite effect when it comes to actually unifying us. Like instead of bringing us together, it's kind of like divided us. And that's unfortunate for the internet. So this sense of community, what we used to have back then, when neighbors would, a new neighbor would move in, and you go and bring him like a piece of cake. Hey neighbor, and everyone in that community would talk, way before that, people would farm and they would trade with whatever they were doing, and it was a different form of community where it was people were closer. Now it seems like we're further away. You don't talk to your neighbor.
No.
Nobody, hardly anyone
Yeah.
talks to their neighbor. Everyone
I
just
just-
stands up. There's no like sense of really helping each other in the community. There's only like a few like avenues to have that. When it relates to education, like through the program, like a coaching, things that are like really innocuous that don't really do much. They just help yourself more than anything. It's just helping your kid. That's it. It's not really helping the entire community.
Yeah. Well, before we pivot to the internet, and I think we should touch on the internet. I really like that kind of transition. The idea of the interconnection and connectivity between people being lost because of the internet. I just want to say that if you give people tools, obviously the internet is a tool, but if you give people tools and resources to treat mental illness, they can always do better. So I think Joe and Damien, you guys were saying that, hey, it's, the prevention starts with family. And I agree. I think that community and people around you and friends around you will always be the best prevention for any type of depression, addiction, mental illness. But if those people don't have any way of really impacting their loved ones, or sending them to a place where they can safely rehab, then it becomes a little useless. So I do think that putting a little bit of money into like mental health, and not just talking about it and like campaigning on it, and just like putting like little reels on Instagram about like, hey, we invited Olivia Rodrigo to the White House to talk about mental health. That's not going to help anybody. You know what I mean? Or Billie Eilish or whatever. And I love Billie Eilish, but I just think that having her in the White House to talk about her feelings and her idea of mental health, I think it's good. It starts a conversation going, but you got to give people resources, and it's though it might feel like it's like, oh, we're just helping people to feel better. It's more than that. It's giving people resources, and it starts with the people around you, and it starts with your social circle. And just to Damien, you were gonna pivot to the internet, which I think
I was, but now you brought up something about Billie Eilish and whoever else went there. I understand. When people have a good following, it's okay for politicians or whoever, or people who are trying to inform the public. It's okay to use them, pretty much as puppets, basically. But it's okay to use them to get their followers, inform them something. But what I had my issue would be when it's like to get you to politically move in a certain way for an agenda, like because Biden is trying to garnish more votes or whatever. That's why and it's an easy target, it's a young crowd. So that's when it's like I'm not in favor for that. But whatever. I just want to get that out there. But Joe, you're gonna say something.
I was just gonna kind of add on to that, because it's kind of like, you can do stuff like that, like you said, Marty. It's gonna gather attention, but you also have to understand that at least the focus of America is very it's very kind of, I forget, I'm missing the word, but it kind of comes and goes. You know what I mean? Like, it's like short lived. Like, these things they kind of permeate. People just forget about it, so you have to really follow through. And I'm not saying that, obviously the White House, there's a lot of money there. There's a lot of different committees, a lot of people working on this. And I don't want to discount any efforts that they're doing, like federally. And, there's folks locally trying to actually, this is their job. You know what I mean? And it sucks that, the American opinion hasn't really changed too much, maybe. And there's people like really trying all sorts of things to kind of, because obviously this is an issue and it's gained a lot of attention, but that's just how it is right now. You know what I mean? And the other thing I wanted to add is, I don't want to be like the buzzkill, but I am getting kind of tired, and it's 11:30 too. So I don't know.
You working, Joe? You working tomorrow?
No, it's not that I'm working. Well, I have some things I want to do in the morning.
Okay.
I'm not working.
I get it. How about we give ourselves another 5-10 minutes, and then we call it a good podcast, because I think we've pretty much touched on some great topics: addiction, depression, social circle.
Well, Marty, before you try to cut it and go with him, you're not getting out the hook. Okay.
I'm not gonna talk to you another 3 hours like last night.
I told you earlier. I told you earlier we're gonna keep this going for a little longer. It doesn't have to be 3 hours, but you said. But just because he's leaving doesn't mean you have to go too. So
that's true.
If he wants to go, it's fine. But
I'm sorry. We could start this a little bit earlier, and I could do some more time. But I'm starting to feel tired. I get tired around this time.
God,
no, you're good.
Okay.
If you want to know who started this late, it was Marty. He's putting him out there. So I was for 8. He was for 9.
It was just an hour late. It was just, come on. No, but Joe, are you leaving right now, or you want to give us like?
No. I feel like what you said, like another 5-10 minutes, just to kind of maybe wrap it up with me. And then you guys can kind of continue on your thing, for real.
It's not gonna feel the same. It's gonna feel like you've added a lot of energy to the conversation. But
Then why don't we just end it? We just all part ways, and then
No.
next week,
Marty, I don't want you to leave. Why are you trying
and
to leave
then
me, Marty?
and then
Why are you
next
trying
week
to
at
leave me?
8 o'clock on a Saturday, we can start it again and do it until like 11, so we can get to 3 hours.
Yeah.
So you have enough content to edit and spend
We'll talk
12
about
hours.
that. We'll talk about the scheduling us out of the recording. We'll talk about that on a phone call or something away from the podcast time. I don't think everyone wants to hear about us planning and scheduling. But yes, back to the internet, dude. How is it biting us, and what were you trying to say on that, Marty?
Okay, put a 10-minute timer. Put a 10-minute timer on your phone.
Hey,
That way
I'll
you
put
can.
I'll just log off after 10 minutes. Just even if it's
Okay.
getting spicy.
Okay.
Okay.
Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that you say that the internet has sort of drifted us away, when right now, I mean, Joe, you're in Houston, you're in Dallas, I'm over here, and it's sort of bringing us together
Yes, it is.
in a virtual way. I mean, I would prefer if we were all sitting in a space where, it again, in maybe it's a bar, maybe it's a restaurant, maybe it's your house or my apartment or whatever. That to me is is what we evolved to. We are social people. We are social human beings that would rather be in a physical space where we can share ideas and interact and eat and drink and talk and whatever, all that. But the internet is to me, in a way, is a great tool to bring people together, to share information. I mean, where did we get all this information about the homelessness and about whatever, depression? From the internet. And so it's the tool that is also a weapon. If you live by the sword, you die by the sword. And so it's if you look at the positive aspect that it has had on human society, I think the benefits outweigh the harm that it has caused. And there is harm that has been done.
There is harm. I would have to say that, yeah, there's definitely harm. And I don't know exactly how much benefit and how much harm. So it could be 50-50. There should be a way of introducing the internet to people who've never used it, and usually for the youth, so they know how to use it properly, because it is here and they're using it. And so how we grow up with media class or sex ed, there needs to be an internet or a phone or some class that teaches you about how the internet works and what's out there. Because there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of TikTok bullshit that kids try and they end up killing themselves. The one chip tacky, whatever chip challenge, a kid recently died from that. And so there's a lot.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just I saw in the news like a few days ago. But yeah, so there's a lot, and there's other things like the fucking the pods, the detergent pods that kids were eating, and it was fucking them up. I mean, there's so much bullshit out there, and for the youth, there's a lot of harm, and even for regular Joe.
Yeah.
If you go down the wrong rabbit hole, you're gonna end up fucking yourself. And it's not because you're trying to or when it's just when you have so much information out there and there's so many paths that you can take, you can go and start believing horse shit and consider it to be true. And then also now you're part of this big conspiracy cult and you're committing crimes or you're harming other people. So yes, it works great for people who know how to use it right, but schools should have training for kids on how to use it properly. And they should be told, be aware that there's a lot of stuff that's out there that's junk, and you need to have scientific data to back it up. You need to know how to research for that scientific data. You need to know how to research in the studies and how it was conducted. There's a lot that needs to be known. They need to know about Jello journalism, different types of journalism, their biased journalism. It's something that's spot, and there's money invested in behind these news organizations, like who is funding them, why are they saying this. There's a lot to consider when you're picking information from the internet, and it
Yeah,
could and so now everything I'm convinced that like 50% of the shit out there is false, and it's just someone saying what they're saying so they can sell a product, so you can go and buy a product that they get commission from maybe. So it's just and the thing is you will never know
bro.
because they're behind. It's you only seeing what they're letting you see, and that's it.
Yeah, bro.
So
That's capitalism.
yeah,
It definitely they'll use the internet to generate the profits. I couldn't agree with you more about that, especially nowadays. Whenever like, I mean, I know like we kind of got introduced to internet when we were relatively young, but the internet was also relatively young, and there, it's just not the same technology. It's not the same that it is today. And I
no,
just imagine like those tablet kids, like holy crap,
holy
man!
shit,
Like
yes,
it's just they will definitely have a different relationship with the internet. What we're calling the internet than we do for sure, because they're coming out, seeing that screen and believing. Like you don't even know you don't even have. I think you maybe don't even have the idea of what is something fake. Why is
yeah,
this information wrong? Like it doesn't make sense to you. You just see what's on there and you maybe just take it as truth. Like this is reality. I see
yeah,
it on my screen. I don't see it in my everyday, but maybe one day I will because it
mm-hmm.
exists on the screen. There's a level of comprehension that it's just, I guess, mental development, maturity, and stuff like that. That you can really let someone get lost, especially if you're not monitoring it as a parent and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And yeah, I guess this is it's. I mean, I guess like information evolution has the different phases, but like the folks they really try you I guess at one point it's kind of like like your intelligence meant like how many facts you knew, how many facts you can fit in your brain, how much information you can fit in here. But now with just how readily available information is and how much information there is out there, being intelligent is being able to determine whether it's good or bad information, being
yeah,
able to understand that difference. And man, and
it's
like you
getting
said,
trickier.
Damien, it's tricky, and it's tricky because there's a lot of incentive to make people believe a certain way, and
Yeah, yep, and
it'll be scary from the kids for sure. Like
yeah,
I don't know how I don't know how one class when because we had media literacy class in challenge. It was like a one semester elective. You know what I mean?
hmm,
That's not media literacy is going to be like ongoing. Your whole life you have to kind of figure out and stay up to date. You know what I mean?
yep, yep.
Mhm.
It's definitely an information overload, a plethora of information bombarding you from left and right, and with information that contradicts other information. And so then you're like in the middle, like, what the fuck do I believe? So there's also confusion. So it's just a big mess. And yeah, with my son, I intend to instill everything I know about it and make sure that he gets the right information from me that I can pass on to him. But for other kids that are just their parents are like in the clouds, not knowing what the fucking kids are looking into, that's where these some weird kids come from. These basement kids come from. These active shooters come from, and so it's just unfortunate.
That actually, like, if you think about it, it does play into the whole mental health thing that we were talking about. It's just
Yep.
like it's a whole other, it's a different avenue, but for sure. I mean, I think yeah, the younger shooters, like very impressionable people, like who knows all the stuff they're reading, all the blogs they go to, all the hate that
Mm-hmm.
they've kind of like that has been developing over time, and
Yeah.
then they commit actions that you can't erase. You can't bring people back, but yeah, I guess that kind of ties into that other topic we were talking about. So that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool that it kind of circles back a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Joe, I know it's. Oh, Mari, go ahead. You're finished. Finish
No, no, I
your
was just
finishing
gonna say
words or no?
I was worried. I was worried that Joe had to go. I was like, oh no, I don't wanna like talk and like damn interrupt Joe while he's like making amazing arguments. But Joe touched upon yeah, and yeah, I'll just like make it short. That way Joe can uh comment on a little bit of what I'm gonna say. But Um, how do you? I think he said, how do you tell what's true? How do you really know what you're reading is valid? And one of the big scary aspects of the internet right now is artificial intelligence, and there's so many videos out there that show
Yeah.
Obama saying things that he never said, or even Trump things that he never said, or even, I don't know, the people that you follow, Tucker Carlson, I don't know, Rachel Maddow, saying things they never said. And it's all from artificial intelligence or people that are using the internet as a weapon, to have people believe what they want them to believe. And so I think that's an important, if the internet was at some point used to connect people and to share information, now I think it's using people to divide them and to somehow have them believe what other factions, whether political or financial or ideological, want them to believe. And so I think that yeah, I mean, that's food for thought for other people to just kind of like, hey, whatever you do can target the wrong kind of people, the people that might be prone to um, depression, or just, they might not be as strong, or they might have predisposed ideas that might lead them to cause harm. And so I think that's yeah, that's something to think about. But I'll just kind of end on that, and then let Joe add on to it, and then maybe, I don't know.
I guess the next thing, and it's kind of just that adds on to that, tying into artificial intelligence and stuff like that, is that you know, I guess, this is not, I mean, we've kind of known this for a while now, but um the folks that I guess the folks in power, if they want to know about us as the humans, certain demographics and stuff like that, like we're constantly giving away our data. You know what I mean? We all have these smartphones. All that information, everything we do with it is being gathered. No one reads the freaking privacy stuff. So there's a big experiment going on, a big study going on all our behaviors. And, AI is going to take all that information and figure out, someone could use AI to take all the information and figure out like how best can I influence these set of people? You know what I mean? To, and for example, like, for like
that information already is out there.
yeah,
Yeah.
they can do that, and they can kind of cater, the algorithms they're powerful, man. Like, YouTube, some company can pay YouTube to run certain ads that they know it's going to have an effect on these people, and the reason they know that is because they studied what those people looked up on their phone, and they already know they kind of have this leaning, so they're kind of going to push into that. And it's just, whenever you have AI that's able to crunch all that data and make sense of it, because it's hard for just like a human to do that and to see all that data. But like with AI, like, for sure, like you know, they're already optimizing stuff at grocery stores, I hear. Like HEB is revolutionizing groceries for the e-commerce. Like they have big warehouse fulfillment centers that have robots, freaking doing the grocery shopping for you, putting shit in buckets and like, optimizing the process so that way, it's like a steady stream of people just doing the pickup stuff. You know what I mean? It's just like the technology and understanding data is definitely going to have a real big impact on everyone's future. And I feel like people are going to really understand how to influence us, and that's all they really need in order to kind of the world, everyone's just always fighting, just I guess on a high level, like, obviously everyone's just fighting for influence, because that's what's important. That's the reason, like, there's the big US and China battle. It's like, who's going to be able to have their sphere of influence on the world to make things go the way they want it to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what I'm gonna end it on. It's
Well, Joe, just to remind you, I know you're about to log off, and you can log off after this. But look, we
Yeah.
said we were gonna end it at 12, and for me it's 12:48, but for y'all it's 11:48. So
Yeah.
there's 12 minutes. We can finish in 12 minutes and just call it good. We all go home. I mean, we all just
He's
walk
just
to our
trying to keep you
beds.
here longer, and he's not wanting to
No,
stay with me
I'm
longer.
really not. You
He
really
doesn't.
could.
Marty does not want to stay alone with me because he knows once he's alone with the lion, he enters the lion's den, and I'm gonna devour him. Because
No, he will
we're
not.
we,
Eventually he will just pivot to Trump, and we'll
I
just
can't.
talk.
It's because yeah, exactly. You see, he's trying to avoid that because he knows I'm keeping it PG for him right now. But once you leave, Joseph, we're going triple X here.
I mean,
No,
dude,
Joe.
Trump,
I mean, if you gotta go, you gotta go. But
nah, I could, we could do, we can do 11 more minutes, 12 o'clock. I'm good with that.
yeah, 11 more minutes.
Okay.
11
Hey,
more minutes.
okay. Let me touch on what you said though, real quick. Like, yeah, and also on Mario, where you were kind of like asking and saying, yeah, dude, the how do you find the truth with all this nonsense coming out and the AI and deep fakes? Well, thankfully, deep fakes are not there yet. AI is not there yet. We can still tell when a video has been altered, but it's getting very close. It's getting very.
I want to
fucking
time
close.
out,
What's that? Oh, you're going.
bro. I want to just interject real quick about that because I wanted to make a point about that. I feel
go ahead.
like there can be a strategy about that. Like I feel like they can feed
yeah.
you fake AI shit that you know is fake, and then every now and then they slip in one that actually is good, and you can't tell the difference because you're like, oh, they kind of give the fake AIs like a certain flavor, so you automatically in your brain, bro. I'm telling you, there's so many different ways of manipulating us. It's insane because
That's so true. That's so true. And it's
I'll
all
let you go.
because it's all theater on a screen. It's about how can you perform the best theater on a 2D screen that you can look at, read, and consider to be true. Once you trust it and once you believe it, that's when you lost. Because
Yeah.
you lost yourself a little bit there. Once you believe a lie, you lost your truth a little bit. And the more truth you lost, the more lost you will be, and the more of a lie you're going to live. So that is very scary. What it's going to come because you see that in today's date. You see it with Facebook, with Twitter, with Russian bots. Had one of my cousin Brian's friend. He's I believe he's a Navy or Marines, but he's in the intelligence, and he was telling me how there's Chinese meddling in the elections, and they stir, and like in social media platforms, what they do is they stir up like arguments, and they create these false narratives, and they get us to fight and get us to vote in a certain way. So yeah, it's very much happening in today's date where we're being manipulated without us knowing. That the even on a simple thing of the comment section for YouTube, they could the highest rated comment with the most likes. It could be a complete lie, and they could just keep like all the good comments that they want you to see on the top, so you agree with them, and it just kind of feeds your opinion. So then you believe it automatically. So there's
What they call it, confirmation bias, right?
confirmation bias. Exactly. That's it. Yeah. I was looking for it in my head. I was like, what's that fucking word? I couldn't bring it out. Confirmation bias. Yes, sir. Exactly right.
Yeah, I feel like the science of influencing human minds is like very
Mhm.
well understood by folks. Like I mentioned, AI being able to crunch all the big numbers and be able to kind of feed the decision makers on what strategy to use to influence people is definitely going to be.
And that's known to work and be very effective. This is why the biggest companies, even like the new one that just came up, Timu, spends billions of dollars in advertisement because they know that as long as they advertise, that's what's going to make their product sell. Even though it's dirt cheap, it's shit product most of the times, but they advertise themselves so big and in such a great way that now they're in the top. Timu, this app that came out of nowhere and now it's big with all the cheap products. You heard of them?
To be honest, you want to know? You were saying the advertising thing is one aspect of it for sure.
Yeah, that's one aspect. But that's how it started.
But what's crazy about Temu is that the Chinese actually are doing what I'm telling you. Like the Chinese folks, I mean, in China, like using your phone and stuff like that, like that's like they're a big source of data collection, and Temu has optimized how they sell things and how they like, you know, fast fashion about like figuring out exactly like what's trending and all that stuff, and they know how to.
It's happening. That's why I told you that the data collection is happening, and it's being used to understand human human behavior better, so that they can sell their products or manipulate to you to do a certain thing. That's why TikTok was such a big thing, because TikTok is constantly monitoring. It's constantly monitoring what you're doing and able to utilize that to give you an algorithm just catered to you, so that you can stay on the screen for longer. And also, supposedly they said that the Chinese people over there, they on their TikTok over there, it's to encourage the youth to be more in science and math and academically. And over here, they're doing it to where it keeps us more entertained with like dumb videos. Who knows? But it's happening. Like people are. I mean, I had TikTok for a brief moment in time, like 2-3 years ago. I had to delete it. I was like, man, I want to be there all the time. It was addictive. They knew I was like, everything I swiped down, I was interested in. I was like, it was so perfect. I was like, they know everything I want to watch, and I want to keep watching. So I just took it off.
I mean, that is literally what addiction feels like, I'm sure. I mean, not that I've ever had or I'm not an expert in addiction or have had an addiction. Hopefully, knock on wood. But it is that need to have that next dopamine hit in your brain. But I was going to talk a little bit about artificial intelligence and how it's all about data. I mean, I think the internet started around 2000. I think Al Gore and whoever started it. I think it happened in the 90s. It sort of grew around the 2000s, and so we've had around 30 years. Funny that we're all 30. Around 30 years of data collected from human history, and not only from human history, but just all types of aspects of life, of us. And so I think, to me, artificial intelligence, it's the gathering and collection of data from us. And so that's why it has become a great weapon or a great tool, because we have gathered so much. And so now I don't think artificial intelligence will take over in the sense that, oh my God, we'll create some like being that is just all bot-like, or something like that movie. What was that movie called?
The Matrix?
No,
not the Matrix.
Terminator.
The Terminator. But there was one with a girl. There was one with a girl that was pretty recent. Ek Machina, or something.
Machina, yeah. You know what? Let's end it, because he's almost out of time. But let's end it on that, on AI, like the taking over, like the artificial intelligence taking over. Because you're saying you don't think it's going to get there. I'm saying it's a great chance we'll get there.
Okay. Well, do we want to leave people on a kind of a hanging cliff kind of thing, or a cliffhanger?
No, I'm not saying leave them on a cliffhanger.
It's not even that we're leaving people; we're leaving ourselves on a cliffhanger.
Yeah,
I'm curious too.
Oh yeah, there's some people listening to this right now. There's only 3 people have listened to this conversation. You, me. Yeah, I mean you.
You,
Joe,
and me.
You, me, I.
And me. So look, we've had this conversation before, Mari and Joseph. I'm not sure if I had it with you, but this is how it starts. I say that the human evolution has been going on, and we started from like nothing to what we are now. And we came from one species to another. It's kind of like it's just like a species evolving. We come from like miniature little cells and to intelligence to now what we are. And what comes after us, I ask? Well, since we are the superior like actual intelligent creatures, because this is no longer about, because we are based off of intelligence. It started with DNA replication and mutation for improvement, and that in itself was intelligence. But what goes beyond that? We came along. Now there's an organism that's intelligent, It's not just the DNA and the mutation that's a slow process of intelligence. Now we are the new evolution and the next step. So then what comes after us, after an intelligent being? That's where I think AI takes over. I think we'll start off slow progression where we integrate, biomechanics into our bodies and whatnot. But eventually, once our technology becomes so great and AI becomes real smart, we can transition from a human to an AI, and that will be like the new species. It could be biomechanical, or it could just be completely like AI, but it'll be like a robot sort of to start off with that's very intelligent, and it can control a lot of electronics and can build itself, and it can replicate itself and start growing. Because once you have a technology like that and AI so smart that it's able to like start thinking for itself and learn, what are we to it? We are just we are an inferior object. And so at that point, that's when it's just the dominance will prevail. And I think we're capable of creating that dominant new whatever it is AI that will take over.
Before I go, I guess my opinion is a little different, and it's not fully formed, but I don't really feel like AI would kind of split off as like a separate species. I see it more like Marty. Like I just feel like AI is just going to be like just another tool, but a really powerful
Yeah.
tool, kind of like
Oh
the
yeah.
nuclear bomb to humans. And it's kind of
It
like
could be a merger.
humans will always be kind of like I mean how we are. We're always, and there's the other thing about you calling us intelligent. Like let's be real, like most of us are just smart enough just to be able to kind of understand the culture, society we live in, stuff like that. But none of us designed the freaking the nuclear bomb or or the cars. There's
No, you're
other
right.
people that we're dependent on that came up with these brilliant ideas to
Yes.
push humanity further. You know what I mean? Like I always feel like we're taking credit for being intelligent just because some other people in my species made some really amazing inventions and
No.
whatnot.
We're not. We're not everyone is an Oppenheimer or a Bill
Yeah,
Bill Gates.
there's
Not
special
everyone.
people out there. I don't
Yeah,
know. I
there's
don't know.
special. There are some Einsteins in there, but it's not that we're not them. It's just that we are the most intelligent species out there as humans. Because you compare us to any other species, to a dog, to a monkey, to a dolphin, they're fucking
Yeah.
stupid. We control them.
It-
We can cage them. We know how they work. We know how to feed them. We know everything about them. They don't know whether tomorrow will come or not.
yeah.
Try to
Yeah.
explain that to some horse. They're not gonna
No,
understand it.
but
We
I
are the
feel
most, even the dumbest person, even someone with Down syndrome is smarter than a fucking dolphin. They're
no,
able
but
to communicate and
Okay,
hold more
well now we're
information.
gonna get canceled. But okay, keep going.
no, but what I want to say is that like, but at some point in our history, we were scared of the lion. We were not. We have the same anatomy, we have the same brain size, the same everything, but we feared the night. You know what I mean? It's
Yes.
basically like what's taken us as far as we are now. The reason we're able to cage that lion and do whatever we want is because the tools that uh the a few humans in our history have decided that they just come up with, and we're able to adapt, and like we're at least smart enough to be able to utilize those tools. We know how to drive a
Yes,
car. We don't know how to
but
design a car, but we can drive one. You know what I
but
mean?
a dog or a horse or a lion would never be able to come up with what we come up with. And most of us can drive a car. You put a dog. There is no other thing out there that's as smart as a human. We are all very smart, and we are smarter than never before. Back then, people believed that you can fucking cure a disease with the smoke or whatever with the witchcraft doctor.
Yeah,
So we are way smarter than we were before, and we are the smart species. There's no
yeah.
doubt about it.
I
But
just,
and
I just,
so when you're saying that, you don't think that an AI might take over. I think yes, there's a very possibility, because that is a transition because our intelligence has gone like it's kind of like going like this. It's like the way we've evolved and intelligence has evolved with us has been like this. We came from a little stupid cell, like a one cellular little living organism to what we are now, a very complex organ system. And so, what's after us? And since we're going like this with our evolution intelligence, what comes after us? Something else has to be that comes where that we create. We are going to be, because now we're the smart ones. We're the ones that are able to build and create. So then we're gonna be the ones that create the next evolution, and it's gonna jump. And that, what? How do you jump? How does evolution jump the gap of like stupid like mutation process of evolution that takes millions and billions of years? Well, you create a species that can evolve on itself, and that's us, because we are the ones that are creating. Look how much in such a short period of time, 100 years, 200 years. How short of a
Yeah,
time
that's true.
have we been able to, like, from this industrial the steel revolution to the mobile, to being able to fly, the automobiles? That's a big fucking leap. And we know back then you had to sail from place to place. That took months. People died on this voyage. Now it's like you get in a car, you can go travel 50 miles, or you can travel on a plane and get there in 1 hour, and you travel like 200 miles. It's so fast. I mean, the technology has really jumped, and it's just continuing to jump. It just keeps, we're skipping, we're going up. And so I think we're the species that's going to be able to jump the gap of evolution and mutation, and just be able to use our own actual intelligence to get to the next phase, which I think is
Well,
going to be AI.
well, we all already kind of doing that to an extent.
Yes.
There's ethical questions about designer babies, being able to manipulate the genes
Yep.
and stuff like that. So you're already
Yep.
doing some bypassing.
Yeah.
But I think about it like this, like, because I'm still back to sticking with the AI as a tool, but not like as not as like an evolution, but just like another powerful tool that we have in our repertoire. Because if you think about it, if you were to kind of go back in time and meet a human back in the day, like he probably won't even recognize that you're part of the same species, because you got this phone in your hand, you have
Yeah.
technology on your belt, you got a flashlight, you don't need fire. Like, it. I guess like maybe in the future, like, people that, using AI as a tool is just probably gonna just like you're just gonna be like, I guess you're gonna be still a human, but it's just like it'll be probably a little hard to recognize, because
Yeah.
like
Hard, an
you have
upgraded human.
you have these abilities that you just don't really understand, because this is
Yeah.
you're kind of in the past
And,
or
and
whatever.
and that's what I'm trying to get at. That we are going to be the upgrade. We're going to become upgraded humans, and it's going to be like a little. It's not going to go right into it, because we're going to be the upgraded humans, where we use glasses now. We use enhancing like headphones to hear shit, to see things. It's going to be a little. It's going to start with a little minor stuff where we integrate like technology to improve our lives, improve our hearing, our erections, you name it, whatever you can think of. If there's a technology that can be designed to improve you, and then also being able to dabble into the small, microscopic level of being able to engineer an organ in a lab, which we are doing. We are 3D printing like livers and hearts and kidneys and whatnot. So being able to do that just being able to do that should definitely be a sign that there's a door, a window that eventually is going to open, where we can now 3D print humans if possible. I know that's a far jump. We're not there yet, but we're at the forefront of it. We're going to be able to 3D print things and also mechanically merge it together. Let's say you lost your arm and you need to have a connection to your new arm. It might be robotic. Well, it could also be robotic and at the same time have biocellular structure in there. And so now there's a merger between human and like robot. Now,
Yeah.
what's the next after that? Creating just a fucking robot with that on its own, like creating a human on its own with the chip or whatever you want to call it, a CPU that's smarter than us. But what happens when we get there to the smarter than us AI with a functional body or robotic body that can walk or has wheels or whatever, but it's smarter than us? What happens at that point? And it could merge with itself, with if it wants to get energy from food, it can grow its stomach and whatnot, and then now it can replicate. I mean, this opens a big window. I think that that's why I'm convinced that eventually will be the new species that comes from our intelligence, because it's not
Yeah.
no longer the mutation of way of progressing. It's just from what comes from us, and I think that's it. That's definitely got to be it.
Well, I just had one. Well, I had three short points before Joe goes. Uh,
Will I
no,
go? I don't know.
no, I'm just like, oh my god, he's leaving. But I guess my first point is, oh damn it, it says reducing noise for some reason. Anyway, my first point was that humans, every time they create a tool, they're always on track to destroy themselves. So, with fire, uh, fire is definitely something that can cause harm to it. You can use it to cook something, you can use it to warm yourself, but at the end of the day, fire is fire and it'll destroy things. Then think about the knife. The knife was used to, I don't know, I guess make food and cut things better, and maybe cut something, a flower or whatever. Then it became a weapon. It became arrows, it became swords. uh, think about I don't know, the electricity. It became pollution, it became a way to destroy our planet. So I think artificial intelligence is the new tool, that will become the weapon. And whether we use it as a tool or a weapon, I do think that humans evolve very slowly. So to go back to that point of like, whether someone from the ancient times will be able to tell that we're of the same species, we're definitely the same species, but we have evolved over time because of the tools that we have created and because of the new world that we live in. We live in a completely different world than people from 10,000 years ago. So we definitely look different. And I think you're right, Damien. I think we use this as a tool, but it will eventually destroy ourselves. But we can use it to destroy ourselves, or we can use it to merge with it.
Yeah.
Think about, Elon Musk's Neuralink. What if we can incorporate AI somehow into our brain, into our consciousness, and we use it as a way to think better, to create more neurological networks inside our minds? You know what I mean? Now we have the access of the internet put into our brains. I mean, how now we'll all be Einsteins, because now we'll all
Yes.
have access to, I don't know, nuclear fusion or fission or whatever. Uh, you know what I mean? So I think AI can destroy us like the nukes,
Mm-hmm.
or they can make us into a new species that can figure out death, that can figure out space travel. They can figure out so many more beautiful things out there in the universe, and we can become the aliens that we think are out there. Um, but I don't know. I don't want to get too far into the future, and
No,
but
I'm sorry.
yeah.
I don't mean to. I need to figure out when to come in because I
No,
keep on
dude,
doing it.
go, please come in, because I was just gonna go into like senseless things.
I was gonna say, but like let's not forget about what we said in the very beginning when this whole conversation started about information battles, and that like I don't even know if intelligence is like how many facts you know. You know what I mean? Because if you have that AI in your brain and you have access to pretty much the internet in your brain, okay, you have access to information. I don't know how you're gonna understand that, but remember how we were talking about. It's not going to be about how much you know, but whether the quality of what you know is good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that's the thing with AI still to this day. Like, you can use Chat GPT and you can ask it a question, but do you really know that it's telling you the right thing? And
Right.
that's the stuff that's going to be difficult. Um, I'm not sure how to get around that. And also, I'm not sure if you have all access to all those facts, whatever form it takes. if you are even the same person you are, you know what I mean? Because we are
Mhm.
all like unique because of just how our brains all are
Right.
kind of all wired. But if we all are kind of wired the same, I don't know. It's just, I guess there's
I,
other philosophical questions there, but
I will say to that uh, human life has been improving over the years, and yeah, there is always with new technology the chance that it could be used for wrong, and just because it's fresh in everyone's mind, the Oppenheimer movie, where it kind of showed that there was a theory that there was a chance that it could start a chain reaction where it could ignite the atmosphere and could destroy the world, and that's why Oppenheimer just considered himself like not only because of the nuclear bomb, but he thought himself as a destroyer of worlds because it could literally destroy the world. And we got to that technology, and thankfully we haven't done that yet. But with every new advent and with new technology that emerges, we can use it for good or bad. But at the same time, our quality of life has always still been progressing. Like we all have AC now. Our cars have AC. These were luxuries back then when they first came out. This was only for the millionaires. Now we all have food that we can try, different foods that we can all eat. So it's just
yeah,
so it's there's like a little balance to it. I think, yeah, the new AI could destroy us, but I think based on how the quality of life has been improving, I think it will do us more good than bad because most of us want to do good. So I think he's thinking about taking a step back and he's thinking about most of us. I look at my neighbors and I look at people I work with. I'm like, most of us are good people. So I think I think we might be all right, but I still think that the new AI will take over, and it won't necessarily be a bad thing. It would be a progressive thing that we like, and just because our species might end because of it or improve because of it doesn't mean it's bad. So it could be either the meaning that it could mean that our kind will end, or it can mean that our kind would evolve and become better. But that's what I want to say to that. And
Yeah.
Marty, what do you have to say? I know you want to say something.
No, I'm just saying. Man, I'm thinking about the time, Joe. I mean, how about one? How about 12:30? Come on, 12:30. We all go.
yeah, 12:30.
We all
That's fine.
go. We
You
all
know what?
go.
Hold on.
Damien,
Yeah, you
just
know what?
Damien, just
I do. I feel just like you, Marty. My mind is so fixated on the time that it's harder. This whole time kidnapping hostage, you're holding us hostage with this time frame. We need to just keep going, and once it's done, it's done, and we should have no time limit because
No,
when
you
there's
know
a
what?
time limit, it's just
no. We should have a time limit. I think. Come on, we have
All right,
13
10:30.
minutes, and we all.
Go for it.
Okay,
I mean,
okay,
12:30.
okay.
Sorry.
12:30, and we go. We all go. Damien, you
I'll
have
no,
to
just
no,
say
hang.
no.
I'll
We
hang
don't
out.
know. Okay,
no. We all
you
have
hang
to
up,
end
but Marty,
because I
you do
mean, this
not
is the
leave.
podcast. This is the three of us. We should
No,
all.
Marty, you cannot leave us because with you, I want to have. I'm waiting.
No. With
I want to
no
have a
me. I
one-on-one
mean,
with you.
we the three of.
I want to have
Oh
a
God.
one-on-one with you. That's why.
With Trump about Trump. Okay, God.
Yes, yes.
No, I mean.
But I want to be on that one too.
Yeah, exactly. So
Uh,
this is what I mean. We should save it for when we all have very good articles on, and we can all kind of
oh, I
bring in
have the
something.
articles. I have the articles.
No, But see,
If you need
I think
time,
Joe needs to be on that.
Marty, if you need time to get your stuff, your affairs together, and get your ducks in a row,
Yeah, I
okay,
want
fine.
time, and I
Yeah, I'll
also
give
want
you
Joe
time.
to be
Okay,
there too.
okay, I'll skip that topic for another time because it's a hot topic. I know there's a lot that you want to cover, but
Yeah,
okay, fine. I'll acquiesce.
12:30. Okay, so we have 12 minutes.
No, no,
Well,
I'll acquiesce that we'll save that topic for another day.
yeah.
I'm not gonna capitulate to you that we are gonna end it now. Whenever he gets off, we're gonna continue for a little longer because I still want to do a one-on-one with you about some other stuff, not Trump related.
Just that we look at what artificial intelligence actually is. And so I found this little article from IBM And the reason I think IBM is a reliable source is because I
They're
have myself
everywhere.
have been doing a lot of data analysis and data science, and that's something that interests me. Um, because I don't know, I just like, I guess, numbers, and I think data is important. But if you guys want, we could take a look at some of what artificial intelligence is, because there's different types of artificial intelligence. There's a type that recognizes like speech patterns, writing patterns. So there's different types. I think there's like strong AI and weak artificial intelligence. But we could take a peek at it and just kind of research on real time, I guess.
Yeah,
Uh,
go for it.
I like
okay,
that.
so would you like me to share?
Yeah.
Share away,
Okay,
baby.
so share, Chrome tab, and I have the article right on hand. So this is from IBM. And it says that, okay, it mimics the problem solving and decision making capabilities of the human mind, which is ambitious, I think. Obviously, we know that the human mind, we don't really know what the human mind,
Yeah.
how the human mind functions, right? It's
Yeah.
just a bunch of neurons put together, and somehow, some way, you come out with very complex beings that can create music and can create like amazing writings, and so and they all have a different personality and a soul, quote unquote. So to mimic human thought, or I guess decision making capabilities, is already kind of fascinating. But you guys want to read this together, or?
Yeah, I don't mind if you want to. I'm good
Have
with
you
that.
already read this?
No, I have not. So
Oh, okay,
basically,
okay.
yeah, so I'm just gonna skim read it. It's
Yeah,
four
seriously.
potential goals. It says differentiates computer systems on the basis of rationality, thinking versus acting. So I guess there's the human approach and there's the ideal approach, which I guess what they're trying to do is have the computer think in a rational way. So how do you think rationally? I guess you defer from what is fake and what is true. And I guess I don't know how you can have a computer differentiate what is true and what is fake, but you can definitely
Yeah.
make it think rationally. Um, I guess through probability somehow, some way. Um, okay, so artificial intelligence has gone through many cycles. Um, there's obviously the most recent is ChatGPT. Um,
So it's in the
and
bottom. It's talking about the AI ethics and how AI is and we've all kind of like heard the news and stuff, and the controversial stuff that it's going around the AI, how AI takes other like artists' information or whatever. It pretty much steals and copies and creates its own content or whatnot based off other information out there that's been designed and created by humans. So that's where the ethics comes into place. Where is it ethically okay to use some of these AIs for like making a script for a movie, or like making a some art piece, digital art piece, because it's copying basically another artist. So
yeah, and I put the article on the chat in case you guys want to maybe kind of be in a different section. Um, but
It's
there
it's hard
is,
for me to use it because I'm on my phone. But next time
oh,
I'll get on the computer so I can skim through it with you. But this time I'll probably just watch you.
okay. So this one goes with, in the simplest form, artificial intelligence is a field that combines computer science and robust data sets. So it's all about, if the data is there, if we have enough data, we can create enough networks to create some sort of conclusion or end result from the data. It encompasses fields of machine learning and deep learning. I think machine learning is obviously tied a lot more to the amount of data that you have. I remember I think when I was doing engineering, I took a class on how can a computer tell between a dog and a cat? And essentially, you feed it enough pictures of cats and enough pictures of dogs, and that's how the computer can learn whether it's a dog or a cat.
Well, yeah, it's because it uses there's different codes that you can instill in something for it to take it create. It's kind of like a formula, and that you is able to feed that formula whatever it needs for it to work right. But it's all down. It all comes down to code, and that's beyond me. That because I'm not a I'm not, I don't I would never would want to do code. It's just too much information. It's too much to memorize. It's code is like learning a foreign language that you've never heard of. And so, but it's amazing that people have been able to create these codes that are able to like take information and then learn on its own. That's the fascinating thing. And then now that this AI is so advanced, some of this AI, like ChatGPT, is able to make its own code. So once you get into that, it's like it's kind of creating like this AI that can be so smart that it can use improve itself and recode itself and create better code for itself and learn quicker and faster and better. And so I think we're really close to that, and I'm excited to see where that takes us. And okay.
I wanted to say, like, I guess, like, where I'm just still a little stuck at is um like, I guess, so far the AIs have to kind of be prompted. You know what I mean? It's kind of like they're like they like ChatGPT specifically. It's like an assistant. ChatGPT
Yeah.
doesn't just like, well, as far as I know, whenever you're not using it, it's just like, just chilling there thinking about other things to do. Like, you give it an input and then it gives you an output. You know what I mean?
It still
It's
needs
a
the
really
human
good output.
interaction.
Yeah, it's not independently, like, unless you tell it, like, you give it a set of instructions and then it'll independently like put something together for you, but it
Yeah.
doesn't just like,
On its
chill in
own.
the background idling.
Yeah. Yeah. It still needs that human touch, basically. But
Mhm.
yeah, but definitely, but being able to respond to us the way it does, it's just eventually it's just gonna not need us to respond. It can respond on itself or without us or without, it's just gonna be fascinating to see how this and how
Yeah.
this technology evolves because
Yeah.
we're there. We are
Because-
definitely there.
Yeah, because I
Well,
guess what
this.
like make I'm sorry. Continue, Marty.
No. Go ahead, Joe. No.
All I wanted to say is like what like the charm about ChatGPT, like what makes it special is not really like the responses it gives us, although those are really cool, but its ability to understand what we're actually trying
Yeah.
to tell it. Like
Yes.
it can understand what we're trying to tell it, and then, well, actually, yeah, the outputs are important, and be able to kind of convey that information in a good way to us too, that we can understand.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing about the language model aspect of that specific AI branch.
Yeah, because language, the human language, is very complicated, and how do you? It's complicated to really master. People they have to go to school and get and and graduate and get degrees in language, and how do you go from on your own doing that to making a system that can understand it? Like,
Yeah,
how do you teach? How do you even make the code for something like that? It's just that is intelligent. I mean,
a lot.
the people who are working behind it, those are the Einsteins of today. That's the way I see it. Because that is
Yeah,
wow.
they do it with massive data sets and really good algorithms that can learn from itself. Because,
Mhm.
like, an AI model needs to be trained. You can't just feed it like it's like yeah, you're pretty much training something. You know what I mean? Like, they use that
Yeah.
language. Like, yeah, I need to train the model.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, well, this is exactly what you are talking about, which is the difference between deep learning and machine learning. And I think machine learning can be summarized by, the dog versus cat kind of thing. But the deep learning is more of the, hey, I'll go into maybe an artificial intelligence uh, ChatGPT, for example, and just kind of feed it, hey, I want you to write me a poem by Robert Frost about lilies or something. And so I think what the AI or the deep learning thing does is it outputs something that isn't necessarily human uh, uh, informed. It's something new. It's something that has gathered pretty much the style of Robert Frost and has come up with a new poem. And so that is kind of, honestly, it's just amazing, and there's so many applications to it, like not just poems, but say music. Say, maybe, hey, write me the next Taylor Swift single, or write me the next uh, Harry Potter novel. You know what I mean? There is so much it can do now. It can mimic human output, and so that
Yeah.
itself is something very interesting.
It's
I
interesting,
can.
but that also
Mhm.
dabbles and goes into the realm of like ethics. Because yeah, with a dead person, with a dead artist, that's fine. But whenever you're taking the likeness of a current celebrity or artist, then it's like you're taking their material to make new material. Because this isn't like us, doing the research and the hard labor of trying to put a new song and making it sound like an artist or look like an artist's work. This is AI doing it in matters of seconds and being able to put all together, all the information, and make something out of the likeness and pretty much copying based on all of that artist. And that's where it's like, is that ethically wrong? And